Hey, what's going on, everyone? Here's that exclusive behind-the-scenes, left-brain, analytical, scientific frequency analysis, mastering tips and tricks. A peek behind the curtain of my workflows. By me putting this out there, we can kind of share in this community and kind of, help each other out, so to speak. And also for everyone else who's not all technical into this music production side of the, universe, they can kind of just get a sneak peek behind the scenes to see exactly how all this stuff kind of works, Logic Pro X is the DAW that I work with. DAW, Digital Audio Workstation. Basically, this is similar to a lot of the other DAWs that are out there that people use for music production. So what are we looking at here? First thing, this thing's called the multimeter. I like to use it to analyze the overall loudness, or RMS, which stands for root mean square. In a nutshell, it's the overall average loudness of the track, right? We want to maintain control over that. We don't want it getting too loud. If things get too loud, you start degrading the audio, you get distortion, it's not good. So that's the first thing I put on. I want to see right out of the gate what everything looks like. From there, I plug in the good old linear phase EQ. Now, the first thing I do on every single track, every single time without fail, no matter what, no questions, no answers, I don't care. I automatically adjust the lowest frequency on the spectrum. I'll set this between 20 to 25 hertz, and I'll drop the dB down all the way to 48. And that way I cut it off entirely, right? Off with his head. So why do I do that? Well, because it's taking up space in the mix. You're not going to hear it. I'm not going to hear it. Nobody can hear it. The human ear is not capable of recognizing it. So why even have it there, right? It's just gonna take up room that I want to work with. Now I'm going through and making these tiny little adjustments across the frequency band for the entire track. Linear phase EQ. I love this thing. It's the best. Anyway, in mastering, I'll make these subtle little changes. And you could hear when I'm playing around with this, like with the bass section, the mid section here, I'm making these tiny, tiny little tweaks, right? The high frequency spectrum here, now you could really hear that you could do a lot of damage by manipulating these frequencies around here. So yeah, I like to save the bulk of the manipulation for the multipressor, which is coming up here soon. I'll get there in just a moment. The next thing on the agenda is the exciter plugin. I like to put my frequency range here on the exciter between 1,700 hertz, somewhere within that range. This is all kind of, every track is a little different. Next up is harmonics. Sometimes I go a little bit over, but generally around 1.5 to 4.5, sometimes 5% seems to be good overall. Harmonics are just good at lifting the brightness. It's good for instruments like guitar, piano, and other similar instruments out there you might be using. You could toggle between color 1 to color 2, suit your preference. I don't want to play around a whole lot with that. I just stick to color 1. Sometimes I'll hit color 2 and it's like, oh, that sounds better. Okay, I'll just stick with that. Now moving on to what I call the beast. The multipressor. That's the next plug-in on the out signal here. Here I'm just adjusting the gain level on the low frequency end. I'll do that across the entire frequency palette, if you will. And, down here you could adjust the ratio, compression threshold, RMS, attack, release, all that stuff. Play around with it, and I just like Frankenstein this whole thing, right? Thresholds. On the low end, I'll set between 22.5 mid-range, 21, around 22 for the high end, maybe 24 if I'm feeling frosty, It just all depends on what sounds right to me. Sometimes I'll solo these bad boys and listen to it individually. And by doing this, you could really hear exactly what's going on within that specific bandwidth. And then I'll just make adjustments to ratios, RMS, attack, and release, and all these different things here just to kind of get a baseline, see what I like, see what I want to hear. RMS. I like it between 50 to 200 in the high frequency range. That's just what I prefer. Sometimes I'll play around with it. Plug and play for what I want to hear in the mix. Let's see here. Bulk. So the bulk of my mastering is pretty much done with this multipressor, the exciter, and the EQ plug-in, and then the limiter, which is going to come. Moving on here, stereo spread. I don't want too much spread. I don't want too little spread. I want balance. Balance, Danielson, balance. All right, so what do I mean? This lower frequency that I'm playing around with here, I want between 2,000, 3,100 hertz. It's usually a good sound. I'll make adjustments to the upper frequency, 15 to 20K, somewhere in between there. The upper percentage here, maybe 20 or 30. All depends on the sound. All depends on what's going on. I'll play around with it. I like about right there. It's good. Now this bad boy here, at the very end, order. Man, I just leave it alone. Leave it at 12. I don't really even play around with it. To be honest with you, I learned about it, but I can't remember what it's even for. so leave it alone. Later, dude, off with you. So just tiny little tweaks here and there to give the stereo spread some consistency within the mix. Next up, adaptive limiter. This thing, I love it. You could overdo it. You could really clip things out and just, destroy the mix with this thing here. But this boosts the overall lift of the entire track, and it's usually the last thing I use in this whole lineup of plugins. Sometimes I'll use a preset like a soft limiter. Sometimes I'll just dive right in and play with things, you know what I mean? Just kind of mess around. I mean, it just start off with the soft limiter. Hey, that sounds pretty good. It's lifting things. It's not degrading too much audio. Cool, move on. It helps if I turn it on first. Oh, man. Yeah. All right. When you work with the limiter, keep an eye on your overall output gain to make sure that it's not clipping. No bueno, right? This is the overall gain, boosting the loudness of the entire track, and everything has been processed by all the other plugins, basically. So this is like the final thing. The original mix is good, and the small bump, maybe between 1.3, 3 dB of gain here should work good. That's the range I usually toy around with, 0.13 to 3 dB of gain. The out ceiling I prefer to keep around -3, because the minute you start tinkering around too much with this thing, it's going to boost everything and muddy the sound. Overall, the concept of the limiter is to just maximize the overall sound level without degrading the quality. At least that's the way I look at it. I mentally break it down. You need to find the balance within this one too. So I mean, like each and every single plugin, there's balance, right? Okay, so now we're at the final stages here. I like to get all the plugins, all of them up and running, to check everything in real time. I'll listen to this like 20 different times, various spots throughout the entire track. There's my stereo out. It's integrated. -14.2. That meets YouTube audio requirements, so that's good. We're all sound hovering around 3 dB. That's where I like it. All right, everyone's going to have their own personal taste, but this is my workflow. You know what I mean? This is kind of how I tinker with things in the background. I'll make these tiny little adjustments, small, super tiny, to the multipressor. I like to have all these things going at the same time. I got eyes on everything. I could listen to everything. I got my eyes on it. Make these minute little adjustments. Nothing big at all. Come down here to the spreader, look things over. Sometimes I'll just leave it alone. Limiter's looking good. I'll check the numbers. All right, clear that out. Boost things here. Bring things up, bring things down. Looking at my levels, left to right. I'll reset these, and I'll just keep plugging away. I want to check overall levels. Everything's good to go. Frequencies, compression. I want to boost a little more here. All right, cool. Looking over everything to kind of get a visual analysis of how everything is working. Do a double tap on these bad boys, peak levels. This is before, and you can see the frequencies bouncing all around. And by no means is this complete. I'm just sharing with you all the basic workflow behind this. I'll probably put this away because my ears are toast. I'll probably put this away and come back to it tomorrow when I got fresh ears, so to speak. Make sure they're not all toasty, and because after a while you start listening to this over and over and over and over and over again, and it just, your ears get tired. Just like if you're staring at a computer screen for too long, your eyes get tired. The ears get toasty, and then you're done, and then everything you do is just it doesn't. So at least for me, some people, they might be able to last longer, but I'm good for a couple hours doing this, and then I got to put it down for a while, or at least take a break, come back to it later. All right, I'm doing these behind the scenes videos for two reasons. One, so other people out there can razz me. Hey man, this DJ, all he does is push buttons and turn knobs, dude. You're not a real musician, man. Whatever, dude. Well, anyway, music production is nothing but pushing buttons and turning knobs, man. That's been that way since the huge recording studios, you know what I mean? Those big, huge soundboards, little knobs everywhere. What am I doing? Don't touch that. So, but hey, just to give a little background, I started playing drums when I was 13. I still play. I can get behind a trap kit and just, bust out a beat if I need to. I've been playing for so long, it's kind of like in my soul, I guess. I dabbled in guitar. I'm not good at all, maybe a few chords, dun, 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 that's about the extent of my guitar playing. Some basic scales I can do. I can kind of mix rhythm and lead together for simple little pattern. But MIDI is kind of like my playground, right? So I'll plug in and I'll just and find the right sounds and kind of move things around in the MIDI tracks. All that right brain stuff, that creativity. So to all my producer friends out there that are watching this, making music, that are using this DAW or similar ones, and they're just trying to figure things out and get a feel for what's going on, connect in the comments below, man. What do you do? What's your workflow? What do you do? I mean, does any of what I'm doing here resonate with you? You're like, oh yeah, man, I've noticed this, that, or the other. Share. We're just a community trying to figure things out, learn from each other, share from our experiences. Hey, I could be missing something. I'm not perfect, and vice versa. By communicating and sharing, we build each other up together, right? So I think that's the whole point. Side note here, AI mastering tools are out there. Personally, I've tried them, I've used them, I've experimented with them. I don't think it's quite there yet. And that's my opinion, my onion, right? As I call it. I could be wrong. 3 months down the road, all of a sudden, boom, it's like perfect. Everybody's, mastering with AI, and it's just the best new craze. But for me, I enjoy doing this. It's fun. It's a passion. I love doing this. I love analyzing and nerding out and manipulating frequencies and changing this in this whole machine world environment that I got going on. For me, that's just what it's all about. That's a wrap for today, everyone. Hope you're doing all right out there in Cyberland, and I'll check you later. Cheers.